Welcome to the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon series. I am your host, Captain Matt, and today we're talking about Bennington pontoons. We're going to review the 2020 2021 models of the Bennington pontoons, and we're going to go through each of the floor plans. We're going to talk about the Bennington constructions, the things you need to know, the goods, the bads, and the uglies. This is going to be just an honest, unpaid for review that we're doing for Bennington. So let's first start with the different models that you'll find, the classes or series as they call them. They start at the highest end. It is their Q series. The Q series, they call it refined luxury. And the key to this series is it's the highest end of everything they do. Plus, it has the fiberglass fence rails. So it's not the traditional aluminum fence rails. They've built it with fiberglass, which on the one hand, it looks great. On the other hand, it's much heavier because that fiberglass is much heavier than aluminum. So it is a heavier boat. You're not going to get as much performance out of whatever horsepower you put on it, but it does look sharp. Next is your R series. There's still the luxury accommodations, the luxury seating, all of the appointments, and they're focused on performance with that R series. The G series. It's sort of their middle of the road series where it's still luxury. It's still built to the high standards of the Q and the R, but they've just kind of scaled down things a little bit. The upholstery isn't quite as nice. The helm, not quite as nice. The standard features, not quite as aggressive as the R and the Q. And then you get down to the S and the SV series. A couple things about these series is they're built different. The under construction of the chassis of the pontoon, the structure of the pontoon, they cut out a few of the braces so they're spaced a little bit further apart, which makes the boat not quite as sturdy as the G, the R, and the Q series. And they're also the value class, and they only have an 8 foot beam. The Q, the R, and the S have 8.5 foot beam, so you're losing 6 inches. And the Q series also has a 10 foot beam option if you want that really, really wide roomy pontoon. But the S and the V series, they're built different, and we're going to talk through it. Okay, so let's look at what makes Bennington one of the most popular pontoons on the market. We'll start with the history. It was a private company founded in 1997, built, and their headquarters was in Elkhart, Indiana. It's still there. They really built their market share. They're not the longest running pontoon manufacturer. Harris has been building longer. Premier has been building longer. Crest has been building longer. Um, Tracker has been building longer, but they built their market share with a quality product, very focused on quality. They came out with a 10-year bow to stern warranty, and that really set them apart 10, 15 years ago. I don't know exactly if it came out when they very first started, but they've been doing it for a long time now. And they also have a very large dealer network. They pack their dealers. They don't give them huge territories. They'll put them several in a single market area where they have somewhat defined territories based on zip codes, and they have a really large dealer network. On the consumer side, that's great because you probably have a competitor carrying a Bennington product that's fairly nearby. If you move and you need warranty work or you need somebody to work on your Bennington, you're probably in the U.S. and Canada. You're probably going to be able to find a dealer nearby. Now, on the dealer side, they don't like it quite as much because they don't have that big protected territory. But it's one way that Bennington has really grown the way they have. In 2015, Bennington Marine, the Vogel family, bought Nautic Global, which includes Godfrey Pontoons, which is Aqua Patio, Sanpan, Sweetwater, Rinker, Hurricane, Polarcraft. And in 2018, they sold off the Bennington brand, Godfrey, Hurricane, and Rinker to Polaris. So now, in this time, as you're listening to this video, unless something changes, Polaris Industries, a public company, has bought Bennington and they've gotten into the boat business from the Polaris ATVs and other watercraft that they build. Now, The good thing is Jared Volgo, who is the son of the founder, continues to run the boat business for all four boat brands for Polaris. And it appears, based on this was in 2018, so 2 years of production, it appears that they're maintaining those high quality standards, continuing to use quality material, which isn't always the case when a private boat company changes hands, especially if they go to a private equity group or a public company. Sometimes they start to kind of cut some corners, but so far everything looks good on that front. We mentioned the 10-year bow to stern warranty. Bennington is big on construction. They're one of the best dealers as far as showing you how they build their boats very specifically. From here, they start with the pontoons, we'll go into the bracing, and you can see the reason I'm showing you this image is I want to show you how the structure of the boat is. That middle section there where the bracing is, the closer that bracing is together, just like the floor joist is in a home, the more sturdy, the more rigid that structure is. Now, on a pontoon, you want as little flex as possible. So you want that to be just totally rigid and no flex. As you get closer and closer to the motor well, you want those to be as tight together as they can. But builders build them anywhere from 24 inches on the really wide side down to about 16 inches on the close together side. Now, what Bennington does to try to keep costs down and yet still build a very solid boat is they put them together on most of their models 16 inches in the rear of the boat, and as they hit about midship, they start spacing them out a little bit because that front section doesn't have to manage all the torque and the weight of the fuel tank, the batteries, that big horsepower, and the torque of that prop spinning and going, 30, 40, 50 miles an hour on some of these pontoons. Okay. So it's a structural warranty, 10 years, bow to stern, and the lifetime structural. So it's only structural damage caused by manufacturing. If you don't take care of it, if you leave it in salt water and you never rinse it, you don't do those types of things, you may have an issue with the warranty. But one thing that's good about Bennington is they do a pretty good job of standing behind the intent of the warranty, and they don't try to put a lot of weasel clauses in where they try to get out of the warranty. Another big thing that Bennington does is they use through bolt technology, which means that they will drill. If you remember that previous picture, you've got the pontoons, you've got the bracket structure that builds the base of the boat, and then you have the plywood that lays on top. To affix the plywood to those bracing structures, they drill it out with the drill and they put the through bolt in, and they use a locking nut with a nylon thread on it, which allows them to offer that lifetime warranty. Now, some of the competition use what they call a tech screw, which is a self-tapping screw that they just drill through the plywood in through that bracing. Now, I'll tell you, some manufacturers use a cheap screw. They don't have skilled technicians putting those in. Others use a super high speed drill, and that tech screw actually welds into the bracing. It's a different way to do each. It really depended on how skilled is your labor pool. If you're drilling out that hole for the boat, for the bolt structure that they have, and you don't drill it perfectly right, and then there's even a little bit of wiggle room, that allows flex, and over time it can shear that bolt off. Same thing with the tech screw. If you don't put it in right, you don't hit that beam straight center, you don't get it the RPM fast enough to weld and fuse to that metal, well, then that screw is going to back out. So I believe they're both quality ways to do it. Bennington chooses the through boat technology, and they use good solid hardware, stainless steel. They have quality technicians that are installing them, and I very very seldom these days hear any issues with flooring from the top level manufacturers, including Bennington. Now the seating structure, a couple of things that the higher level manufacturers like Bennington do is they put drainage channels through their seating so that the water doesn't soak into the cushion and have nowhere to go, and your cushion stays wet, it deteriorates faster. You can see those arrows, they actually put channels in, so if it rains, if you take a wave, if there's people sitting in their wet swimsuits and wet life jackets on your seats and that foam gets wet, it actually can drain out the bottom and through those channels. If you get water into the seat compartment, that's fine. It actually kind of falls down into those little gutters and it drains out typically to the back of the boat, at least out so it doesn't keep your gear all wet. The cheaper manufacturers, what they'll do is they'll just drill a hole through the base of the seat and allow it to drain there. There's no drainage in the seat bases themselves where those those two bottom arrows are. And what happens? That water stands, it gets your gear all wet, you get mold and mildew issues, and 5 years down the road, your brand new pontoon is filled with mold and mildew. Your seats are deteriorating. The quality manufacturers put these drainage channels in. It's something that you may not see in initial look, but if you start kind of looking for it, if you're looking new or used, you'll find them, and it's a key thing for a long-lasting and for better resale value. You can also see they use different types of cushions in different portions of the seat as your butt is sitting. You want that to be the firmest and be the most dense and most structurally sound. The backrest, that's different. You want that to be comfortable and kind of suck you in. And then where your thighs are, you want that to be a little bit more cushy, a little bit more plush. And so they use different foams in the different section of the seats, and they also use a very high grade vinyl material. The more luxury, the Q and the R, they've got more stitching. It's fancier. As you get into the S and the SV, they're using more basic material, but still good quality with UV protectant. Now, this is, I think, the most interesting. Every pontoon manufacturer does a little bit different, and here's how Bennington has chosen to do their packages. They've got the traditional two-tune setup. They also offer a twin elliptical, which is only going to be right for a certain number of people that are maybe in shallower water. They want the extra flotation, but they don't need the extra structural support of the third tune. So I didn't put that on here. But they have their elliptical package, which is a tri-tune with an oval shaped third tune. So because it's oval, it's got more surface area, which is going to give you more buoyancy. More buoyancy means you're going to be higher up on the water. You can put more weight on the boat and get better performance out of whatever horsepower you choose. Okay, you can see down at the bottom in the top left, you can see how that shape is oblong, kind of oval versus the round 25-inch square tubes. Okay, they also have very nice and finished off, which means no rough edges on the splash guards, which is C right there. And then D is the lifting strakes, or performance foils is what they call them, which is going to get you up on top of the water, and it's going to get you riding more like a bow rider and skipping across the top of the water, across the top of the waves. Better performance, smoother ride. And they also have B, a full length keel. And that keel is basically just a little triangle piece that runs right down the center of the tube. It allows you to track straighter. It also protects you from any underwater obstructions. If you were to hit a log, you're less likely to puncture your tune because of that keel. Couple things to remember: if you're a saltwater boater, you want to make sure that those foils, the keels, and the lifting strengths are closed off, are solid, so that you don't get growth in there of the zebra mussels, and you don't get the corrosion and salt water in there that you just is really impossible to get out unless you're scrubbing under your boat and spraying directly under your boat. So that's for saltwater. But the elliptical package is great if you want that extra performance. It's a little bit more expensive. The sport performance is a full length center tune. That full length center tune is round, the same diameter as the others, 25 inches. They put the keels, they put the lifting strakes, and they put the foils on. And they've got the wave shield, which is that aluminum sheeting which covers the bracing of the pontoon. And you can see it comes up to the first or the second structural support there. That's where the waves are going to hit, so it just slides right off. It doesn't hit the bracings. Next, you've got the Express tube package. That's the cheapest of all of them. That center tube isn't full length. It only is about 2/3 of the distance of the pontoon body, and then you have the motor pod, which completes the rest of it. Again, you've got the wave shield, you've got that underskin, is what I typically call it, of aluminum. You've got the performance foils, the lifting strakes, and the full length keel. I take that back. You don't have the performance foil on the Express Tube package. You've got actually the lifting strakes on the center tune. That is the Express Tube package. The Express Tube package is the least expensive, gives you the least or the least amount of buoyancy of the tri-tube packages, and it's going to give you the least performance out of whatever horsepower you put on. And typically, the Express Tube right now is only rated up to 150 or 200, depending on the other options of the boat and the length of the boat. So those are the packages, and you'll want to make sure they can add lifting strakes and they can add other things. So you want to make sure whatever boat you're looking at that you know what's included and what other options that they put on. The lifting strakes are going to give you better performance. The wave shield should be on every single tri-tune. That's a necessity. And the full length keel, I would encourage if it's not on any tri-tune pontoon that you're looking at. Okay. Next, we look at the layouts. So this gets really confusing because not all layouts are going to be offered on all models or on all series. Okay, so I'm just going to go through all of them. It was too complicated to do a matrix, but you've got the quad bench, which gives you the kind of that wraparound seating. That's in the rear of the boat, and the two captain chairs up front. Okay, the swing back is a big, huge sun pad, basically lounger, and that seat flip flops back and forth, so you can sit forward or backwards, and you've got a side entry gate there on the right that gets you to that back deck, where the quad bench gives you a center walkthrough. The stern lounges, you've got two really super comfortable lounge seats. You miss the just having four people sit back there comfortably. Two people can be super comfortable lounging out, but it's tougher and less comfortable for four or even six people to sit back there with their kind of their legs down. Again, that one's a center console or a center walkthrough, and I really like those stern lounges and the swing backs. They, for different people, there's going to be benefits, but those are two really popular layouts. The L bench seating is going to be your traditional L bench with the pad there. The changing room pops up on that little bench back there, or sun pad, like a mini sun pad, and it's a left entry on the walkthrough. So your gate is back there on the left. They've got the bar entertainment setup, which gives you the option for a refrigerator, for the sink, for entertaining. And then they've got the fishing setup, which has your fishing chairs in the back with the little bait well station and all your fishing options. And then two others, and I believe these are just on the Q series. That Sport Lounge I know is only on the Q series. And you're looking at that is the helm on the front right up here. And then this seat flip flops, so you can have a rear facing lounge, or you can flip it and you've got a forward facing seat as the co-captain. The same thing here is that will flip flop and you can put another forward facing seat there. And then the club, which is really kind of like a J-shaped seating, sort of like Yamaha jet boats do, that with some filler cushions in that come in and out, and that table comes in and out, just gives you a little bit extra seating, and that's still the side walkthrough versus the center walkthrough. No one option is better than another. It's just depending on what fits your style of boating, the people that you're going to be taking out, and then what's available on the series level that you want. So remember, Q Series is that refined luxury. If you want the best of the best, that Q Series is the way to go. I would encourage you to go with higher horsepower. Make sure you run that boat first or run something similar, and put heavier horsepower or bigger horsepower on it because that boat's heavier. The R Series, it gets you everything that you want in the Bennington quality. all the luxury with the aluminum fencing, so you lose some of that weight, and you don't have to put that extra 50 horsepower or 7,500 horsepower on it to get the performance that you want. The R series is a great setup. The G series, it gets you the highest level of build that Bennington does, but you kind of scale down some of the fanciness of it all, but it's still a quality built boat. The S and the V series, the way I see it is you still have the prestige of the Bennington name, but you don't get that as solid of quality. I would still put the S series up against the very entry level pontoons that are in the market, and you'll be able to tell this by price. The S series and the V series are a significant discount to the G series, and you'll be able to feel it in the upholstery. You'll be able to look under the boat, look at the bracing and some of the hardware, and they just scale it down a little bit. So I want to walk through the other comparable models so that as you're shopping, you can compare Bennington's model that you're looking at to other models that are the same. What can happen is you compare a Q series to a model that's lower than the Q series in quality and appointments. So this is just to give you kind of an across the board. This is an apples to apples comparison. This is not, so that you know what quality level. It may have the same exact layout, but the quality level and the appointment level is different, and it's really hard to tell as you'll find in this little chart. So the Q series, remember, is the fiberglass exterior. Instead of the aluminum fencing, it's fiberglass, a little bit heavier, but the most luxurious appointments for Bennington. That compares to the Harris, excuse me, the Harris Crown. Harris is a publicly traded company owned by Brunswick, the largest boat group, and also the owner of Mercury. So you'll only find Mercuries on those Harrises, where Bennington you'll find typically the Yamahas. Crest, the Crest Savannah and the Crest Continental. The difference between those two is whether it has a windshield or not. Bennington, I don't believe, is doing a windshield series right now, but Crest is. Godfrey's LX. Godfrey is actually the manufacturer that Bennington sold off, if you remember right. So it's part of Polaris when they sold to when Bennington Marine sold to Polaris. Godfrey was one of the brands that they had owned. So the LX is the Godfrey brand on the or the Godfrey model on the that relates to the Q series. The Barletta, they really don't have a fiberglass model, but Barletta's most high end boat is their EX Slide. It's an 8.5 foot beam boat that slides out to give you a 10-foot beam. So you can shrink it in to fit into your slip without adjusting your dock, but then it runs out with the motorized extension, and it slides out to 10 feet. So it's a little bit different, but I put it in there because they didn't have a fiberglass model. The R series relates to the Harris Grand Mariner, the Crest Caribbean. The Godfrey model is the Sanpan, and the XP, which are the more high end. The XP for Godfrey and Sanpan is more of about performance, and water sports. For the Barletta, that class is the L class, which is their most luxurious class, and probably, in my opinion, one of the best built, most solid platforms that's out there. The G series, the Harris Solstice and the Harris Sunliner, different layouts, but they're both at that highest level of construction that Harris does, just like the G series is the highest level of construction that Bennington does, just fewer appointments. Crest is the classic DXL. They're still using that high level of construction material and quality. Um, Godfrey, Aqua Patio, and the Monaco. Barletta is the E class. That's their mid tier. And then remember, the S series is where they didn't use quite the same construction process, the same foundation. It's the same thing on Harris, their cruise line, and also the Cypress K line. The Cruise and the Cypress K are almost the exact same boat, although Cypress K is the brand, and Harris Cruise is the model. I don't know why they do it that way, but it's kind of a unique situation from when they were buying brands up. Cypress K was strong in some market areas, so they kept that as a brand. Crest, the Classic LX. The Classic DLX, they have the more structured, more sturdy build. The Classic, they take it down a little bit. Same thing, Godfrey, the Sweetwater does that, and Barletta, the C class, is their economy value or their value class. And then the SV series, which is the smaller boats. I think it's 18 and under or 20 and under. Harris does it under the cruise model. Crest really doesn't have anything in that smaller pontoon line. Godfrey is the SR, and Barletta doesn't do anything. But I also want to mention some other brands because here's what I think is real key when you're shopping for a pontoon is get the boat that fits what your needs are, the quality and construction, the layout, which is key on a pontoon, but also I think the dealer relationship, the dealer that is the best reputation, that you have the best relationship with, that's going to stand behind the product the most. Because if you buy the best manufacturer from a crappy dealer, you're going to regret it. So the dealer is so important, and there are so many dealers in every market. It's different. So I want you to find the best pontoon at the best price from the best dealer that you can find. So that's where the toolkit comes in to help you kind of zero in on that, on all of those. So the Avalon Tahoe, they build a nice quality boat. Sun Chaser, South Bay, which is the Tri-Tune my parents have. They've got a mid-level South Bay, and it's great. It's got 600 hours on it probably now, and the boat's still in great condition. The Veranda, their claim to fame is their aluminum flooring. They've got a patented aluminum flooring system. The quality of the fit and finish and the appointments not as high level as certainly the G, R, and Q series of Bennington, but that aluminum flooring is something that they tout. Manitou, very performance driven. They build a great pontoon. Sylvan, Premier, Berkshire, and Coach are all higher level boats that would be kind of in that Bennington quality level, the Q to the S series. Somewhere in there, they're going to be a good quality manufacturer, worth checking out and worth checking out to make sure you find the right dealer, salesperson, the relationship, as well as the right pontoon. So hopefully that comparison is helpful as you're going through. And then, of course, I mentioned the toolkit. You can grab your free toolkit at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/toolkit. Talk about buying the right boat at the right price, how to demo the right way, asking the right questions of the dealer and private seller so you can zero in on the right one. If you've got a trade, how to handle that, best loans, best insurance, and a lot more. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button, hit that little bell so you get notifications when new ones are coming out. We're going to do a series on manufacturers, so those will be coming out. YouTube has recommended a few things. We've got the magic money saving method, which you can check out that video at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/save. And you can check out all the information and details there. Thanks a lot. Leave a comment, like it if you enjoyed this video, found it valuable, share it in your boating groups, and we will talk to you next time.